Hello friends, welcome back to another amazing video. Now today's video is very important for those who are aiming to clear the Certified Credit Professional exam or also for those who attempted CCP but failed in their earlier attempts. And I am sure after watching this video and implementing what I discussed, you will surely crack your CCP exam in the very next attempt. Now please note this video may be a bit longer, but it's very important for your CCP examination. Friends, you all know that successfully completing the CCP certification involves two key steps. First is passing the online examination and second is completing the mandatory classroom training. Now classroom training is easy. So this video will focus on cracking the first and most crucial step, that is the online examination. In this video, I will share 10 smart exam tested tips drawn from real strategies that has worked for many CCP aspirants. So if you are serious about clearing the CCP examination, then do watch this video till end. And also save and like this video, since watching this video 2-3 times during your preparation will keep you on the track and will help you tremendously for clearing this important certification. Now the first tip is adopt the credit officer mindset. Friends, the CCP exam's main objective is to develop a skilled cadre of credit officers. It's designed to give you a holistic insight into bank credit management. This means it's not a theory-only exam where you can just memorize the facts. Like CIB, it also emphasizes the application of concepts. You will be dealing with credit appraisal, financial statement analysis, project finance, working capital, and even export credit. So the mindset here is, don't just study to pass. Study to become a better credit officer. Start applying the credit lens to everything you need and see, even the loan proposals at your own branch. When you study topics like ratio analysis or a type of bank guarantee, always ask yourself, what is the underlying risk here? And how does this concept help me in assessing it? So from today, every time you finish a chapter, ask yourself this question: how can I use this concept to make a better, safer credit decision for my bank? And if you can't answer that, then you haven't truly understood the topic from a CCP perspective. Your goal is not to be a master of theory, but to be a professional who can apply that theory to protect the bank's interest. Then second tip is use the right and updated study material. Friends, having the right resources is crucial. If you are serious about clearing the CCP exam in your very first attempt, then these two resources are the game changers. First is this 1000 series chapter-wise question bank. Now friends, this is not just any set of questions. It's a carefully curated exam-focused question bank aligned chapter by chapter with the CCP syllabus. You will get comprehensive practice of the case studies, numericals, as well as conceptual questions. It has already helped hundreds of aspirants crack the exam with confidence and precision. Then this second book is the complete CCP summary notes. Friends, with the vast CCP syllabus and your limited time, you need laser-sharp revision-ready notes. These summary notes cut through the clutter and give you what actually matters. That is concept clarity, exam recall, and last-minute revision power. Now your time is limited, but your ambition is not. So these books are crafted to help you finish strong, revise fast, and clear the exam with confidence. These books are more than enough to crack the certification. You don't need any other bulky book or resource or any video course. I update these books after every 6 months, so always get updated editions. Now you can get the books from the links given in description of this video. So get these and give yourself the edge you deserve. Then the third tip is strategically select topics to focus on. Friends, as you all know, the CCP syllabus is vast. But you can maximize your score by focusing your energy strategically. If short on time, then you need to select the topics you can master easily, but also that are important for the exam. So high scoring areas to prioritize for the CCP exam are: first is working capital management. Now here master the turnover method, MPBF and cash budget system. The next is ratio analysis and balance sheet reading. Friends, this is the bedrock of financial appraisal, so don't miss that. The next is project finance and appraisal techniques. Friends, here please pay attention to NPV, IRR and break-even analysis. The next is credit monitoring and NPA management. So here understand asset classification, provisioning norms and restructuring guidelines. Then also focus on export finance. Here focus on pre-shipment, that is FCPC, and post-shipment finance. Then next is quasi-credit. Here you must know the difference between types of letter of credits and bank guarantees. The next topic to focus on is types of charges. Here understand the practical difference between pledge, hypothecation and mortgage. The next chapter to focus on is documentation. Here note the importance of proper documentation and period of limitation. Then next another important chapter is priority sector lending. Friends, here be aware of the latest categories and targets. And lastly, you need to focus upon retail loans. Here understand the common products like home, vehicle and education loans. Now these are the topics you should not miss at all. And also please note 1 month of preparation is more than enough for CCP. If you have a month's time, then I would suggest to cover my full book and increase your probability of clearing the certification. Then next step is practice is the real preparation. Friends, if there is one secret to cracking application-based exams like CCP, it's this only. That is, you must change how you study. Simply rereading the theory multiple times is one of the least effective ways to prepare. Your brain in fact needs to be trained to retrieve and apply information and not just passively absorb it. Friends, this is the principle of active recall, and practice is how you achieve it. Now, IRBF itself states that the exam will contain situation analysis or problem-based questions, which means your ability to solve problems and not just recite the theory is what's being tested in the examination. So friends, to get the best results, you must adopt the reverse pyramid method of study. That is, instead of spending weeks reading a chapter thoroughly only to forget it later, adopt this highly effective practice first approach. Now here you need to first skim the chapter. Now this will actually take 10% of your efforts. So read through the chapter one time quickly from my summarized notes. Now the goal is not to memorize but to get a general overview of the topics. Covered. Then in next step start directly solving the problems. Now this will actually take 80% of your effort. Friends, immediately jump into solving MCQs, numericals and case studies from that chapter. Don't worry about getting them wrong. This is in fact part of the learning process. Think of each incorrect answer not as a failure but as a spotlight showing you exactly what you need to learn. Also star mark each question which you found tedious or you found it difficult to grasp. And finally in step 3, do targeted rereading. And this will take around 10% of your effort. Now friends, just before your examination, go back to the theory and read in depth only the specific sections related to the questions you initially struggled with. And also redo the star mark questions only. This way you use the questions to master the concepts embedded within them. So friends, from my experience, doing 500 questions or case study plus skimming the chapter is far more beneficial than doing 100 questions or case study plus studying the chapter thoroughly or in depth. So next comes an important part, that is how to tackle case studies or numericals or calculation based questions. Friends, many aspirants get terrified when they see a large case study with lots of data. But remember this golden rule. All case studies or numericals are based on a core concept. And your job is to find that concept. So let's take an example here. Imagine you are given the full profit and loss account of a major bank with dozens of figures. And you are asked to calculate the net interest income. Now it looks intimidating, correct? But if you have practiced, you know that the underlying concept is very simple. Net interest income equals interest earned minus interest expended. And you just need to find these two specific numbers in the entire table. And then perform one subtraction and you have the answer. The case study is not hard. It's designed to test if you can stay calm and apply a simple formula under pressure. The next tip is consistency over intensity. Build a sustainable study habit. Friends, with the pressure of a full-time banking job, it's easy to fall into the trap of planning long weekend study sessions only to feel too exhausted to follow this plan. Now, the key to success is not a few heroic 10-hour study marathons, but the small, consistent effort you need to put in every single day. Mugging up simply doesn't work for an exam of CCP's nature. So, why consistency is king? Friends, IIVF itself recommends a minimum 3-month study of a stipulated course fare for the CCP exam. Now, there is a scientific reason for this, and the reason is by covering less material per day and increasing the number of days, it gives the brain a greater chance to absorb the material as a result of more nights of sleep. So this consistent, spaced out learning is far more effective than trying to force feed the information into your brain at the very last minute. So my actionable advice would be, first, aim for daily contact with the CCP material. Now, even 30 minutes of smart revision or solving one chapter MCQs will maintain your momentum on the working days. The next is utilize small pockets of time. Use your commute on the bus or train to review notes or work on the MCQs. Keep your study materials with you all the time. And lastly comes the weekends. Friends, please note your Saturdays and Sundays are fully devoted to CCP preparation. That 1 month before the exam, give your heart and soul to CCP only. The next step is minimize distractions ruthlessly. Friends, in today's hyper-connected world, your ability to focus is your greatest competitive advantage. Most aspirants don't fail because they are incapable. They fail because their precious study time is constantly being fragmented by distractions. So this tip is about ruthlessly eliminating those distractions to make every minute of your preparation count. So we will tackle this by controlling 3 key areas, that is your personal, digital and social environments. So first is control your physical environment. Friends, your brain associates places with activities. If you study on your bed, you will feel asleep. And if you study in front of TV, you will be distracted. So create a dedicated study zone. Please designate a specific table and chair as your study only space. Keep it clean, organized, and also full of everything you need. The next is practice like you will play. Friends, you must be knowing that CCP exam is a remote proctor test. This means on exam day, you must be in a quiet, secured environment with no other people, no noise, and a clear desk. So get used to this right now. Studying in a similar distraction-free environment will not only improve your focus but will also prepare you for the actual exam conditions. The next is control your digital environment. Friends, your mobile phone is your biggest enemy during study time. So first, silence the noise. Friends, turn off all non-essential notifications, be it social media, news alerts and personal messages from your mobile phones while you are in your preparation phase. Use your phone's focus or do not disturb mode while studying. And the best thing you can do is what I always do. That is, always keep the mobile phone at more than the arm's length. Now you will question, what will this do? Well, it has done miracles for me. This adds the friction between me and my mobile phone, and my cravings to pick up the mobile phone have reduced a lot. And also my screen time has reduced drastically. Then second is beware of study groups. Friends, while some online forums can be helpful, but many WhatsApp and Telegram groups become sources of stress and misinformation. You will find people asking weird, out-of-syllabus questions that creates panic and doubt. So it's better to avoid these groups, or I would suggest just join 1 or 2 groups and also join these groups for fun but never take them seriously. Your primary focus should be on official syllabus and quality practice materials only. Then next, control your work and social environment. Friends, as a banker, this is often the hardest part. but it's very crucial. So here, plan your leave strategically. Friends, I can understand that getting time off from the work is very difficult, but don't wait for your preparation until last minute. So plan well in advance to take a few days off right before the exam. For instance, the Friday and Saturday before a Sunday test. Friends, this dedicated time for final revision is invaluable. If you can manage to take more leaves before your exam, then it's even more better. The next is set expectations. Friends, inform your family and friends about your study schedule. Let them know when you will be unavailable. Their support can make a huge difference, but they can only support you if you communicate your needs. Most of us bankers live away from our families in rented accommodations, and it's very normal to receive the calls from parents or wife daily. But you must let them know well in advance about the time when you are studying. Say you have set 9 pm to 10 pm for study during the weekdays, then let them know about the schedule so that you don't receive any calls during that time. So friends, by deliberately engineering a distraction-free environment, you can ensure that the limited time you have is high-quality focus time. Remember, 1 hour of deep, focused work is worth more than 3 hours of distracted learning. The next tip is implement the Pomodoro technique for focused studying. Friends, one of the biggest challenges for any working professional is fighting mental fatigue and procrastination after a long day at the bank. The vast CCP syllabus can seem intimidating, and the thought of studying for hours can be a huge Herculean task for the bankers like us. So, this is where the simple yet powerful time management method called the Pomodoro technique can be a game changer for your preparation. Now friends, the Pomodoro technique is a method that uses a timer to break down your study sessions into short, focused intervals separated by mandatory breaks. The goal here is to create a sense of urgency, improved focus, and prevent the burnout that comes from long, unstructured study sessions. So, how to use the Pomodoro technique? Now, the first step here is to choose your task. Friends, here pick one specific topic or chapter you want to study or do the questions. Then next, set the timer. Set a timer for 25 minutes, and this is called your first Pomodoro. And for those 25 minutes, give the task your complete attention. No checking your phone, no social media, no distractions. And after this, take a short break. And when the timer rings, stop immediately and take a mandatory 5 minutes break. During this period, step away from your desk, stretch, get some water, but do not do anything mentally taxing. I hope this is clear to you. And finally, repeat the cycle. That is, after the break, set the timer for another 25-minute session and so on. Now friends, after completing 4 Pomodoros, that is 4 25 minutes focus sessions, you can reward yourself with a longer break of 15-30 minutes. Now this helps your brain rest and consolidate the information. Now this technique will work wonders, especially on holidays or when you have a full day off. Now, why this technique is so effective for the bankers like us? And the reason is, first, it eliminates procrastination. Friends, the thought of studying for just 25 minutes is far less intimidating than facing a 2-hour session. This means it's incredibly easy to start even when you are tired after a full day at your branch. The next, it breaks down the syllabus. Friends, this technique helps you break down the large, complex chapters of the CCP syllabus into small, manageable segments, making the entire preparation process feel less intimidating. Then next, it prevents burnout. Now friends, in this technique, the forced breaks are not a suggestion, but they are mandatory. Now, this prevents the mental exhaustion that is common among working professionals and allows you to maintain your study momentum over the long run. And last reason is it improves focus. Friends, when you know that you need to concentrate for a short period, makes it easier to resist the urge to check your phone or get distracted. So friends, just get started tonight. You don't need any special equipment to start. There are lots of apps in the Android or iOS stores for Pomodoro timers. Just download any one of them to get started. try committing just 2 Pomodoros tonight. Now that's about 50 minutes of focus study with a 5 minutes break in between. And you will be amazed at how much you can accomplish and how fresh you feel afterwards. The next step is avoid PhD syndrome and stick to the syllabus. Friends, a common trap that many sincere and intelligent banking professionals fall into is what I call the PhD syndrome. You start studying a topic like project finance or working capital management, then you find it interesting and you begin digging deeper and deeper, reading advanced textbooks and articles that go far beyond the scope of the examination. While if you are curious, then it's great, but for the purpose of this examination, this approach can be counterproductive and even dangerous for your chances of success. Now you will question why going too deep is a flawed strategy. Now the reason for this is, first, your time is your most valuable asset. Friends, as a working banking professional, your study time is limited and precious. Every hour you spend on out-of-syllabus content is an hour you could have used to practice a case study, or even revise a weak module, or simply get some much needed rest. The next reason is the exam test practical application, not academic depth. Friends, the CCP exam is designed to test your ability as a professional credit officer. It requires a broad practical understanding across all the listed modules. Your goal is simply to know how to apply concepts and not to debate their academic depth. And lastly, it can lead to confusion. Friends, studying overly complex or niche theories can sometimes confuse you about the core principles that are actually tested in the exam. Now, being an instructor myself, few aspirants often ask a question on the topics that are way above the levels of CCP, which in fact waste their time and energy. And I also guide them in similar manner. So how to set your boundaries and study smart? That is, how do you ensure that you study what's necessary without getting lost? And the first thing to do is use the IIBF syllabus as your North Star. That is your first and most important step is to download the latest CCP syllabus from the IIBF website and use it as your definitive map. Before you study any extra topic which is not there in my book, ensure it is mentioned in the syllabus and also stick to that scope only. Then next is understand the indicative nature of the syllabus. Friends, the IIBF syllabus mentions that the topics are indicative and that all matters falling within the realm of the subject concerned will have to be studied. But please note, do not misinterpret this as a license to study anything and everything. It simply means that you need a strong conceptual understanding of the subject from a banker's perspective, so that you can handle the application-based questions even if the exact scenario is not in the book. So the context always must be what a prudent credit officer needs to know. And last is, let exam pattern questions be your guide. Friends, the best way to measure the required depth is to focus on the type of the questions asked in earlier exams. Now I have prepared the material in similar manner and it contains real exam level questions. So if a topic is consistently tested with a certain type of case study or numerical, then that is the level of mastery you need to achieve. The questions define the practical scope of the syllabus. So remember, your goal right now is not to become a research scholar in finance. Your goal is to become a certified credit professional. Study what is required to pass the exam and excel in your role. No more and no less. Then next step is execute a flawless exam day plan. Friends, all your months of hard work boil down to how you perform during those 2 crucial hours. A solid exam day strategy is not just about knowledge, it's about managing logistics, technology, and your own mindset to ensure a smooth, stress-free experience. So let's break down your plan chronologically. That is the day before, the morning of, and the final hour before the examination. So let's start with the day before, which is the setup phase. Friends, your preparation for the exam day starts 24 hours earlier. Do not leave the things I am going to mention for the very last minute. That is, first is conduct a full technical rehearsal. Now, as you know, the CCP is a remote proctor test and technical glitches are a real threat. So the day before, ensure your computer or laptop meets all IFBF requirements. So with respect to device, you need a desktop or laptop. Now please note mobiles or tablets are not allowed. Then operating system, you need Windows 8 or 10. Then browser. Now please note Google Chrome with pop-ups enabled is the best browser. Now in case of hardware, you need a working webcam and a good quality microphone. The next is very important, that is power. Now your laptop must be fully charged, and if using a desktop, it must be connected to UPS. Now my advice would be to always give the examination on laptop only. And lastly, you need a stable internet connection with a good upload speed. The next thing you need to do is prepare your exam kit. Friends, here gather all your permitted physical items in one place so that you do not scramble on the exam morning. Now after which, first very important is your ID card, which is a valid original photo ID card like your Aadhaar card, PAN card or even employer's ID. Then next is the correct calculator. Friends, this is very critical. You are only allowed a battery operated portable calculate up to 8 functions like addition, subtraction, percentage or square root and 12 digits. Please note scientific or financial calculators are strictly banned, and using the one can be considered as unfair practice. Then next is very important is rough sheets. Friends, always keep a few blank sheets of A4 paper for the rough work. Now many students miss on this important part as well as calculator. And during the exam, when they see a numerical, only then they realize that they have missed the calculator and now they can't even stand to pick the calculator. The next thing you need to do is light revision and rest. Friends, do a final light review of important formulas or summary notes. Your goal is to warm up your brain, not to cram. The single most productive thing you can do is the night before is to get a good night's sleep. And this is to ensure your brain is well rested and functions optimally during the exam. The next thing is the morning of the exam, which is in fact the launch phase. So here the first thing you need to do is start right. So wake up early, have a good light breakfast and also avoid anything too heavy that could make you feel sleepy during the exam. Then next is prepare your room. Friends, here set up your room to meet the strict proctoring rules. It must be quiet, secure place with no one else present. Your desk must be completely clear of all the exams except for your laptop and the exam kit which you have prepared. And lastly, stay calm and positive. Please avoid discussing the exam with anxious friends or in online forums. This will only increase your stress. Trust your preparation and stay in a positive frame of mind. And finally, the final hour, that is the pre-flight check. So here first thing is log in early. Friends, the IFBF mandates that you need to log into the system half an hour before the scheduled time. Now this is not a suggestion, but it's a requirement for the verification process. So please note this. Then second is the proctored process. So here be prepared for the verification steps. The proctor will verify your face against your registered photo and you will need to display your original photo ID to the webcam and you may be also asked to show a 360-degree view of your room. You may be also required to show the both sides of the blank rough sheets to the camera before the exam begins. And finally, the final mindset check. So in the last few minutes, close your eyes, take a few deep breaths, remind yourself not to panic if you see a tough question first. You have prepared for this. Now it's time to execute. And finally, we have reached the final tip, that is master in-exam time management. Friends, you have prepared for weeks and now it comes down to these 120 minutes. Conquering the CCP exam requires not just knowledge but also smart time-bound strategy for the exam hall itself. With 100 questions to be answered in 2 hours, you have an average of just over a minute per question. So here's how you can master this race against time. First, the golden rule. There is no negative marking. Friends, this single piece of information dictates your entire strategy. This means you must answer every single question. Leaving a question unanswered is a guaranteed 0, whereas even a random guess may fetch you some marks. Then next comes the 3-pass approach. Friends, many times in IIBF proctored examination, you can skip the question and mark it as under review, and then you can come back to do it later. So if the question skip portion is there, then do not attempt the paper sequentially from question 1 to 100. This is inefficient. Instead, adopt the strategic 3-pass approach. Now first is pass 1, which is the easy wins lap. So here your goal in the first pass is to build the momentum and secure easy marks. Go through all the questions and only answer the ones you are 100% confident about and can solve quickly. If a question requires lengthy calculation or makes you hesitate, mark it for the review and skip it immediately. Don't get emotionally attached to any single question. Then pass 2 is the review and solve lap. Now go back to all the questions you have marked for review. These will mostly be the case studies, numerical problems or conceptual questions that required a bit more time. Now since you have already secured some marks from the easy questions, you can approach these questions with confidence and less pressure. And finally the pass 3 is the intelligent guessing lab. Friends, in the last 10-15 minutes, your sole objective is to ensure no question is left unanswered. For any remaining question, use the process of elimination. If you can rule out 1 or 2 obviously incorrect options, then your chances of guessing correctly increases significantly. But on the other hand, if you have no clue, then please don't waste the time. If you haven't answered every question 5 minutes before the end, simply answer them randomly. Friends, next comes the micro strategies for answering each question. And the first is read with precision. Now please note, read each question carefully to understand exactly what is being asked. Then read all the answer choices before making your selection. Then next is beware of plausible distractors. Please note, IIBF designs incorrect answer choices to appear attractive to an unprepared candidate. This is why a strong conceptual understanding combined with careful reading is very essential. Then next is stick to the information given. So here answer each question based solely on the information provided in the case study or the problem. Do not introduce any external information for making unnecessary assumptions. And finally, the final mindset advice. That is, first is don't panic. So if the paper seems difficult, stay calm. It is likely difficult for everyone. At worst, it's just a valuable experience for your next attempt. Then next is be careful with the submit button. Now here please note, once you submit your paper, it is final. Even if it's done by mistake, there is no going back. And finally, give it your best shot. Now you have worked hard for this. Remind yourself that if you don't pass, you have to wait for the next attempt. So give these 120 minutes your absolute best effort. So friends, with this I come to end of this video. I hope now you will get really amazing results in your coming CCP certification examination. Lastly, don't miss to get your CCP resources from the links given in description of this video. So follow the 10 tips discussed in this video, stay consistent, and you will be in a far better position to clear your CCP exam in the very next attempt. So thank you and all the best.